Hi everybody, it's Professor Tassine. I'm going to walk you through a couple of things and relate it to what I've put on Sakai already. So I have posted a document that's called the Chapter 4 Overview that's going to look like this. And I wrote this to walk through what I think is important in Chapter 4. What I'm going to do in this first video is do the very first thing, which is comparing process costing with job order costing. And I'm going to refer to something that's written in my outline, which is here on page 147 in your text, and the flow of cost. So I'm going to try not to make you dizzy as I walk my iPad over here to the whiteboard. What we did in Chapter 3 in job order costing is we were doing something where every product was different. So we were taking things from raw materials inventory and putting it into, one airplane, the Tassine family jet, or I'll pick on Dean Iacovo, the Iacovo family jet. And each one of those WIP accounts is supported by a job order cost card. So cost would flow, I forgot to get my pen here. Costs would go into raw materials when we bought them, and then they would come out of raw materials when we were putting it into WIP. And so we would have DM and DL and OH going into WIP. And we would keep working on that plane until we finished that plane. It would come out of WIP and it would go all the way over here to finished goods inventory. At the same time, we have this MOH account that would have actual cost and applied cost. And the applied costs are the ones that are going up here onto WIP. So that was process costing. That was job order costing. So what's changed in process costing? So now instead of making one unique item like an airplane, we're going to make stuff where millions of them are similar, like an adult beverage or Coca-Cola or something. So now instead of having WIP for each item that we're making, which would be crazy with millions of items, we're going to have WIP by department. And so I'm going to call Department 1 the brewing department and Department 2 the bottling department. So what's different now are just a few things. What's similar is actually most of them. So we're still going to buy raw materials. We're going to still take raw materials out of the raw materials storehouse and we're going to put it into the brewing department. We're going to add labor and we're going to add overhead. One of the things that's different now is we're going to have MOH just for the brewing department. So we're going to apply overhead to that. And when we finish brewing, we're going to take it out of the brewing department, and this is the change. These are going to be called cost transferred in to the bottling department. And then we might still add DM, DL, and OH. It's common to do that. Think about materials you're going to add in the bottling department. It's the bottles, right? So then you're going to keep going, and then you're going to transfer out, and in our case, you'll transfer it into finished goods. So in job order costing, you're going to have a WIP account for an item. Everything is going to stay in there until it goes to finished goods. In process costing, you're going to take the cost into this WIP, out of this WIP into the next WIP, out of this WIP into the next WIP. Now I mentioned that MOH was here for the brewing department. We're also going to have MOH for bottling. So we're going to end up with a manufacturing overhead clearing account for every department. And our accounts are going to look like this. So that's your introduction to process flows for process costing. Bye.